The name Ed Head isn't one that comes up often when we talk about baseball history. He's not in the Hall of Fame, he never even made an All-Star game, and his career was shorter than average. But what he managed to achieve is as remarkable as any other player in baseball history, and for just one day, he was the best player in baseball. So today, let's talk about the remarkable life and career of Ed Head. His early years. On January 25th, 1918, the world welcomed Edward Marvin Head in Selma, Louisiana. While we don't have a ton of available information on his youth, we do know that he was an enthusiastic baseball player, not unlike many of the boys his age. As he made his way into his teenage years, he grew to become a lean and fast left-handed pitcher, which is as much of an asset then as it is today. Standing just over 6 feet tall and weighing 175 pounds, he had become a standout high school player and was quickly gaining traction. Professional baseball was calling him, but all of that changed on a warm summer's day in 1935. The accident. Now 17 years old, Ed Head was playing for a semi-pro team in Louisiana, and one day he found himself on a bus heading to nearby Mer Rouge for a game. With him that day was his girlfriend, with Head in the aisle seat and his girlfriend against the window. As young lovers so often do, he had his lady in close, his left arm draped over her shoulders. And then it happened. Another bus slammed straight into their side of the bus head on, knocking him unconscious. When he awoke, he found that his girlfriend was dead, and his left arm, his pitching arm, was completely shattered. The doctor at the hospital even said they would be forced to amputate. With some good luck and a second opinion from a doctor in his family, his left arm was eventually saved from amputation, but it became a mere appendage. After a few days of being on the edge of death, he and his lifeless arm began the slow process of recovery. But the thoughts of pitching in baseball ever again were gone, and understandably so. But because this is Ed Head we're talking about, he realized soon after that the only way to ever become a Major League Baseball pitcher was to learn how to throw with his right arm. I want you to pause here for a moment and think about this. In fact, I want you to try it for yourself. Hold your throwing arm down at your side, and then try to throw a baseball with your other arm. You suck at it, don't you? You do. You probably wouldn't even think that you could pitch in an old-timer slow-pitch beer league, let alone professionally. But old Ed thought differently. The 17-year-old began the process of starting over with his right arm. According to him, it took him 3 years to get anything resembling proper velocity. But by the time he was 21 years old, he managed to actually get a starting job in professional baseball, a modest beginning with the Abbeville, Louisiana A's of the Class D Evangeline League. He went 19-8 for them that year, and honestly, if that was the end of his story, it would be incredible on its own. But Ed Head was just getting started. His professional baseball career. After such a successful season, it's no surprise that he got some attention from scouts. And this attention ended up translating into a contract in 1940 with the infamous Brooklyn Dodgers. Larry MacPhail, who was the president of the Dodgers at the time, ended up buying Head's contract and sent him to the Elmira Pioneers of the Class A Eastern League for the 1940 season. Now, as we all know, the probability of making it to the major leagues at all is crazy low. It's even lower for folks who are all the way down in the Class D Evangeline League. And this probably goes without saying, but it's basically zero for a pitcher who had to switch throwing arms. So the likelihood of Ed Head going anywhere in pro baseball was effectively nil, but here he was. But going somewhere wasn't just possible, it happened nearly immediately. By the end of July that year, he was absolutely tearing up the league, posting a fantastic 2.56 earned run average. And he got a further big break when he pitched in an exhibition game against the Brooklyn Dodgers themselves. He allowed just one hit over 3 innings of work, and the major league players raved about him, especially noting he had a curveball to die for when he was in control of it. A couple of weeks later, he got the call that he had always dreamed about, but just a few years earlier had seemed impossible. He was heading to the show. He made his major league debut on July 27th of that year, throwing a scoreless innings against St. Louis at Ebbets Field. The rest of the season featured ups and downs for Ed, but he ended up pitching in 13 games, starting 5 of them with mixed results. As a rookie season, it was neither amazing nor terrible, but he clearly still needed work, so he was sent to Brooklyn's top farm team, the Montreal Royals, for the 1941 season. And this seemed to be just what Head needed, as he spent the full season in Montreal and posted an impressive 18-8 record, including winning his first 7 starts. It was a turnaround season to be sure. He returned to Brooklyn spring training camp in 1942 and made the team, starting out strong again. By May, he was 5-0 with an ERA of 2.74. But for the remainder of 1942, as well as the next 2 seasons, he kinda lurched along, never fully finding his rhythm. And then, during the All-Star break in 1944, he got the call. Most of you will know that the years that all of this was happening for Ed was smack in the middle of World War II. And while he was exempted from traditional service because of his injured arm, his time still eventually came. Head received orders from his draft board in Monroe, Louisiana, to report for Army induction immediately. He took his basic training at Camp Hood, Texas, and then served with the Tank Destroyers Recruit Training Corps at Camp Hood North. His main role, however, was as the physical training instructor and athletic director due to his professional sports career and because of his bum arm. With the commanding general's approval, he organized several sports leagues on the base. He also managed and pitched for the baseball team, not surprising, but he wasn't playing Major League Baseball, and after mediocre big league results, plus losing the rest of the 1944 season and all of the 1945 season due to his military service, it would be easy to expect that his career was over. It was phenomenal he had made it this far, so leaving the game here would have been enough. But somehow, there was still one more miracle to come. His no-hitter. In November of 1945, with World War II concluded, he received his official discharge from the U.S. Army. The return of servicemen helped balloon the record number of players reporting to spring training camps in 1946, and despite having been out of pro ball for 2 years, Ed made the Brooklyn Dodgers opening day team. He was back in the majors, and on April 22nd, the night before his post-war debut, his wife had given birth to a baby boy. And let's just say a little bit of that new dad energy seems to have kicked in. He opened his season the next day against the Boston Braves at Ebbets Field. After many years of substandard baseball during the war years, the stands were packed with fans eager to see the return of real baseball, and Ed Head was about to give them something special. He kept the Braves uncomfortable all day, mixing speeds relentlessly and effortlessly spotting his fastball, curveball, and changeup. As the game wore on and the zeros stayed up on the scoreboard, everyone grew anxious and excited. Close calls in the 7th and 8th innings were diffused with great defensive plays. And when Johnny Hopp made the final out on a ground ball to Dodgers second baseman Billy Herman, baseball's most improbable no-hitter was in the books. Ed Head had endured extraordinary loss, survived his own physical and emotional trauma, rebuilt his body and his life, overcame years of up and downs, and now had arrived at the top of the mountain. And as if on cue, it was time to descend. After his no-hitter, arm trouble started to limit him, which some people believe was from absorbing the recoil from the 57mm anti-tank gun he used while at Fort Hood. He threw his last pitch just 4 months later, never again playing Major League Baseball. His legacy. Though his pitching days were over, Ed Head kicked around baseball for a little longer. He spent his final 3 active seasons in baseball as the general manager and field manager of the Monroe, Louisiana Sports. This team was a member of the Cotton States League in 1954 and 1955, winning the pennant in 55. And in a twist of fate, in 1956, the team moved to the Evangeline League, where Head had started his career way back in 1939. Post-baseball, he worked as a preventative maintenance coordinator for the International Paper Company, and he was still working for them when he died on January 31st, 1980, only 6 days past his 62nd birthday. Even though his time in the majors was relatively short, and his name is all but forgotten now, Head's legacy is a good reminder that even the most fleeting moments can have a lasting mark on the game. As of the recording of this video, there have been just 326 no-hitters in the history of Major League Baseball, and I can safely say that few, if any, carry the same emotional weight as the one thrown by Ed Head. That's it for today's video, everyone. Let me know what you think of this incredible story in the comments below. And otherwise, I look forward to speaking with you all again soon. Take care, friends.